Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video day, and today the Houston Astros have signed Hector Neris, and I'm so glad that Hector Neris is coming back to the Houston Astros. I mean, I had a big feeling when the Houston Astros, when we all got the news, all us Astros fans got the news that the Chicago Cubs were releasing Hector Neris. I had a big feeling that the Astros were going to pick him up. Now, I'd already talked about the Astros potentially acquiring Hector Neris, but it was not the way you would think. I talked about a potential trade for the Astros trading for Neris, and the reason why I talked about it was because, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there were some rumors before, during trade deadline week, that the Astros had interest in starting pitcher for the Chicago Cubs, Jameson Taillon. And I really wanted the Astros to go get him. And I actually thought the Astros were going to go trade for him. Now, they ended up, got Yusei Kikuchi. That was the deal they made. I'm fine with that because Yusei has been incredible as a starter for the Astros in his first, 3 or 4 starts as a Houston Astros. He's been insane. So, no complaints for the Astros choosing Yusei Kikuchi over Jameson Taillon. And if you look at it, Jameson Taillon is a guy who's under contract longer than Yusei Kikuchi and has been better than him this season. Honestly, I know a lot of people have said that the Astros gave up the price they gave up with Joey Loperfido, Will Wagner, and Jake Bloss. But realistically, if the Astros gave up those 3 for Yusei Kikuchi, an expiring deal, who was struggling, imagine what they'd have to give up for a guy like Jameson Taillon, who is, has multiple years left on his deal. I don't think he's a free agent until like 2026 or 2027. So you guys were upset about the package the Astros gave up for Yusei. The package that the Astros would have had to give up for Jameson Taillon would have been incredible. Would have been insane. But so there were those rumors about Jameson Taillon, potentially ending up in Houston. And the first thing I thought of when I saw those, those rumors was, I'd love for the Astros to trade for Jameson Taillon, but I'd also love for them to bring back Hector Neris. And I noticed that, there was a potential chance the Cubs could potentially put him up on the trade market. With them being sort of sellers. The Cubs were weird at the deadline because they were sellers, but they were also kind of buyers as well. They were selling players, looking to get rid of players, but then they were also, kind of buyers as well. They ended up trading for Isaac Paredes as well, picked up some guys. So they were both buyers and sellers. And I actually kind of wanted them to bring back Hector and, also bring in Jameson Taillon. I talked about it in a couple of different videos, talking about the Astros sending a whole bunch of prospects to bring in Jameson Taillon as a starting pitcher and also bring back Hector. And I got a lot of positive feedback about the Astros bringing back Hector, and a lot of different people said they love for Hector to be back with the Astros. And after the trade deadline passed, I was hoping that the Cubs would release him. I thought with that contract and the option he had coming up, that there was a solid chance it could happen, that you could see, him get released, and it happened, and the Astros decided to take action on it and picked him up. Now, he's had a bad year, and I know this is something that has concerned fans. Now, look, this is what a bad year is for Hector. A 3.89 ERA with 8-4 record, 46 games pitched, with 17 saves and 44 innings pitched, giving up 41 hits, 20 runs, 19 earned runs, 4 home runs, 26 walks with 46 strikeouts. Now, the first thing I want to mention is he was kind of moved into the saver, being the saver for the Chicago Cubs this past season, 2024, where he has 17 saves for Chicago out of 46 games. He's been the saver for Chicago most of the time this year. That is something he was not with the Astros at all. He was the guy to pitch in the 7th or 8th inning for the Astros. He was the guy that, was helpful in those innings or in the 6th inning sometimes, because he pitched a total of 71 games in 2023. And even if you want to go to 2022, 70 games. So with the Astros, he pitched in 141 games, and he only had 5 saves. He was not a guy that went out there and would get a save for the Astros. He's a guy that would pitch in the 7th or 8th inning. So this is something he had not done recently. Now in Philadelphia in 2021, he was a little bit of a saver in 2021, closer in 2021. It's the proper word I should have been using. He was a little bit of a closer in 2021 with 12 saves, but only in 74 games. So he did a little bit of closing for Philadelphia in 2021, but not a lot. He really only year in his career. There are only really 2 years in his career where he has been a closer. That's 2019 with the Philadelphia Phillies and 2017 as well. And that's something he hasn't done in a while. Last 2 years he's been pitching with the Astros. He's been, a guy that's pitching the later innings in the area of 6th, 7th, or 8th inning. And I think that's something you're going to see him do. Now, I think that some things I've seen people say is, the Astros have Taylor Scott now, a guy who is, a guy that the Astros use in that area of the 6th to 7th, 6th, 7th, and 8th inning. Also, Brian Abreu has been a guy who's been great in that area this year. The Astros have used him in situations in the 7th and 8th inning. Brian Abreu has been great in those situations as well. Those are 2 guys who've been really good this year. A couple other guys, like Caleb Ort, who the Astros really like to use. Brian King. There are a lot of new guys in this bullpen. Mainly the new guys. I mean, you can look at Josh Hader being the guy that pitches in the 9th. And why that's important is Josh Hader pitching the 9th. Now Ryan Presley is the setup man pitching in the 8th, which is sometimes what Hector Neris would do. Hector Neris used to be the setup man most of the time for Ryan Presley in the 9th. Now it's a little bit different because Presley's the setup man. I know Presley's on the injured list right now, but it's looking like Presley's going to come back soon. So what's kind of interesting is Neris was the setup man to the closer Ryan Presley, but now Ryan Presley is the setup man, pitching in that 8th inning. And then Brian Abreu is a guy who is either pitching in the 8th inning as the setup man, or he's pitching the 7th inning. Taylor Scott's a guy who the Astros use really all over the place in the 6th, 7th, or 8th. Then there are other guys in the bullpen like Caleb Ort, Caleb Ort, Brian King, who are guys the Astros like to use. Sean Dubin as well. Sean Dubin pitched 2 innings for the Astros. Caleb Ferguson is another guy. But I still think Hector Neris provides value to this bullpen. Because I think there are a couple specific guys who could use some extra rest going into the postseason. Two specific guys I think could use some extra rest and have their arms fresh for the postseason. One guy, Taylor Scott, he's been such a huge addition for this Astros bullpen this year. He's been fantastic, and he's a guy that I don't want the Astros to continue to use him in the regular season. Obviously, he's great to have in the regular season, but I think he's a guy that needs to start resting a little bit more as he's pitched so much this year. He's a guy that needs to start resting a little bit more and get his arm ready for the postseason. And I feel the same way about Brian Abreu. Those are going to be 2 strong arms for the Astros off the bullpen in the postseason. And I think you can probably say the same thing for Josh Hader. Now, I don't want to see Josh Hader less. But I think that's another arm in the bullpen that you want to see rested. And if the Astros want to potentially give some more rest to Josh Hader, maybe you see Hector Neris do something that he barely did in the 141 games he played as an Astro. Maybe Hector Neris does a little bit of closing for the Astros if the Astros try to maybe give some more time off to Josh Hader. That's a potential possibility. But I think there are a lot of good things of Hector Neris is coming in, but he's going to be a guy who the Astros know what his value is. He has done some great things for this Astros team. 2023 1.71 ERA with a 6-3 record in 71 games pitched. with 2 saves, pitching 68 innings, giving up 41 hits, 16 runs, 13 earned runs, 31 walks with 77 strikeouts. He was fantastic in the 2022 postseason for the Houston Astros when the Astros won the World Series. He pitched in 8 games. He had a 2-0 record for the Astros in 2022 with a 1.50 ERA. He pitched 6 innings with 9 strikeouts, giving up only 2 hits, 1 run, 1 home, which was a home run. In his 6 innings of work in the 2022 postseason, was a big part of the Astros' 2022 postseason success when they won a World Series. It was huge off the bullpen. Now this past year, not so good in the postseason. In 2023 for the Astros, 7 games pitched in the postseason, 6.4 ERA, pitching 9 innings. He had 8 strikeouts, giving up 6 hits, 6 runs, all 6 earned runs, and 3 home runs with 5 walks. Now I know it was a struggle in the postseason. That was a big reason why the Astros did not want to bring him back, or didn't hesitate to bring him back. But this is still a guy who was very valuable to the team in the regular season in 2023, in the postseason in 2022, and even was really good for the Astros in 70 games in 2022 in the regular season with a 3.72 ERA. So it's going to be great to have him back pitching for the Astros, but it's going to be interesting to see what his role will be. Like I mentioned, when Presley is back, we don't know when that will be, but that should be in the next, I would say in the next week or two, Presley should be back. So once Presley is back, and there will be some time when Neris will be on this team and Presley will still be on the injured list. But once Presley gets back, as Neris has at times has either been the 7th inning, the guy to pitch in the 7th inning, or the setup man in the 8th for Ryan Presley when Presley was the closer for the Astros. With Hector as the closer now, and Ryan Presley now is the setup man, it's going to be interesting to see, what Hector Neris does. You're not going to really see him as the setup man, with him being, in the 8th inning. Because I think if Presley's not the setup man, I think it's most likely that's probably going to Brian Abreu. I think we're probably going to see Hector Neris most in the 7th inning. If I had to predict, you're probably going to see Hector Neris most in the 7th inning. And I also think we could see him a little bit, maybe in the 6th inning. I think he's going to be potentially a guy that if the Astros feel like they have to pull their starter a little bit early, bring him in and ask him to, go out there and maybe give you a couple innings, whether that's, an inning and 2/3 or inning and 1/3, or it's the exact of 2 innings. So I think he could get some long relief for the Astros as well. Let me know your thoughts on the Astros signing Hector Neris and him being back in a Astros uniform. So excited for this. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and peace out. Go Astros.